Hello, welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with us, as always, is our local athletic basketball specialist himself, Tate Mathews. We have the real basketball knowledge sitting between us today. Coach Patrick Whitlock. Coach Whitlock, March Madness. This past weekend is by far my favorite weekend in all sports.
It's Christmas, best 4 days of the year.
I think it's the opening two rounds, too, I like and enjoy more than, you know, obviously the Sweet 16 Elite 8 on in is awesome to watch. But that opening weekend, those Austin Peays of the world, man, trying to make a statement. Murray State, OVC Pride gets a W. Belmont, OVC team, gets a W against Temple in the first four. And then you look at all these storylines. Wofford was in there, you know, with their guy, and Jay Morant, obviously, with Murray State. But right now, going into it, you are the NCAA local resident expert. Going in,
self-proclaimed.
Who looks the best?
Well, I mean, it was a great first round for the mid-majors, a lot of big upsets, but then the second round kind of went chalk. So obviously you've still got all the one seeds available. Kentucky's got a pretty good draw. Tennessee able to pull out that game yesterday. So 4 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. Could be an interesting Thursday and Friday night. I expect a couple of one seeds to go down here this weekend.
Well, they got 7 total teams in from the SEC, if I'm correct on that. ACC as well got 7 or 8.
Yes, Big Ten had a good showing.
Yeah, and, you know, everybody's thinking the SEC obviously dominant in football, that basketball may be a little bit overrated, a little watered down, but they proved, you know, obviously proved the point that they belong in those teams. Mississippi State got upset. Ole Miss, Coach Kermit Davis, I was hoping to see him get a win and kind of get on down the line. But it's going to be an interesting tournament. I know Tate's got Tennessee picked all the way, regardless of who's playing for them, all the way through. Look good, Tate. You watched the Volunteers play this week?
I did. Yeah, I thought that first half yesterday was about the best half of basketball I've seen. Second half, not so much.
Second half could have been the worst.
Overtime was.
Two things stick out in my mind when you watch them play. Me and Coach Whitlock, lifelong Vanderbilt fans, always have been, always will be. But two things stick out.
Are they still in the NIT? Are they still playing?
Two things stick out to me in the NCAA tournament.
Could be a fight.
I'm glad we're back from spring break. There was a play of a loose ball going to their goal where I think it was Jordan Bone that got in a dead spread and laid out.
Yep.
They wouldn't have done that 5-6 years ago. And then the Schofield situation in overtime. He wanted the other guy to be in because the other guy was playing well. He had 4 fouls. He was cold on the bench. And as the story goes, he's playing really well. He wants to keep him out there. And the quote from Schofield was, "I care too much about winning." I just, you know, what do you say? What do you say about that?
Well, it's all about culture. All these coaches that are in the NCAA tournament are obviously very good, but it's the teams with the elite culture. Tennessee on paper in terms of recruiting is not recruited great over the past few years, but they got a great product on the floor because they obviously enjoy playing with each other and just kind of have that it factor. That's why they're still around. And
they don't necessarily have any NBA lottery picks in there. You know, it's a bunch of blue-collar guys. I mean, Grant Williams is a great player. Schofield's a great player. All of them great players, don't get me wrong, but when you start to think about the top 10 draft picks, none of those guys come to mind.
No, and they've all developed. I mean, Jordan Bone, really the key to that team. Yeah. An average 3-star coming out of high school and has developed into arguably one of the most important players in the SEC, if not the country.
I do have a question. No, seriously. Who, out of all the number ones, who did you think was the most impressive this weekend?
I honestly think Virginia was very impressive because of what they had to go through. You know, they got down by 10 to Gardner-Webb early, were able to, you know, put that game on ice in the second half, and then kind of a dominating performance last night.
I thought Sunday against Oklahoma, I thought they looked good.
Everybody's dismissing the fact of the Duke-UCF game. I think UCF is way undersold. I think they're a really good team. I think you got the Dawkins factor in there. He knows exactly what's fixing to happen. The coaching chess match that went on, you know, people are dismissing Duke. Oh, they can't shoot it. They can't do it. Just wait. They're going to be fine. I still think they're the team to beat. I do. I still at this time think they're the team to beat. We'll see how big of an idiot we are. And if they're still watching, they're fixing to see a lot more idiocy coming up when we pick this all-Wilco boys team today. We'll do the girls at a later time of this year's basketball team. We've got a list of around 20 to 25 kids. We're going to select the team. Obviously, I will come on top because I am definitely the smarter of the two in basketball. Kind of like in the past of our past WCS team.
Oh, I mean, I don't even want to pick that scab. It's you'll get upset again.
I would be remiss if The only player from that team on that list that was in the NCAA tournament this week, which was on my team, Grayson Murphy of Belmont, obviously in the tournament. Good showing. I know you always pull for any of our guys, Wilco guys, regardless if they play for you or not. But, for that guy to go out there as a redshirt freshman and play in that kind of environment, it's pretty neat to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's you almost take it personal. The announcer's kind of giving him a hard time because he made a few turnovers at critical junctures in both games. But, really proud of the effort he put forth. And I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Garrison Mathews putting up big numbers for Lipscomb in the NIT.
Whose team was he on? Garrison Mathews?
Yeah.
He was on mine. Hey, while we're on that, too, since we're on this, Chris Webber, of course, he did the Tennessee. Was he the Tennessee game? Yeah, he was. I really like him as an announcer. I don't know how y'all feel. I really like him.
Does a great job.
You know what I love about him?
I like a bit of Reggie Miller.
He analyzes, but he doesn't tell us what he would be doing if he was the coach. He doesn't know that team. Some of those guys, those are the guys I can't take. I really like Weber.
I like Jalen Rose for the same exact factor. I like those guys. They bring the street cred. They don't have to say, this is what I would have done. They just say, look, these guys are playing hard. They give the facts right down the line.
Agreed.
But there's a lot of people out there in that media faction that have all the answers. All you got to do is just take to social media during the game.
That's right.
It's amazing. Never have won or lost a game, Coach Whitlock.
Ever.
They won a
Perfect records all around.
I mean, the armchair quarterbacks, unbelievable, dropping those dimes all over the place, Qualls, quarters. It's pretty impressive. I mean, when we have openings out here, maybe I need to reach out to some of those guys and let them be the coaches. But it's a whole lot easier to do it behind a mic than it is and do it in person. So anyway, if people are still watching, let's discuss real quick. Let's wrap up the basketball season. The boys' side, obviously, Brentwood, Franklin take their teams into the AAA state tournament this year. Franklin finishes out 28-7. They lost the opening round game to Bearden, 76-46. I think that score indicates, at the time we did not know it, or at least I didn't, how good Bearden really was.
Yeah, I had no clue. I mean, I knew, typically when you think of Tennessee basketball, you always point to West Tennessee as having the best teams. Coach Joins had a great game plan. They had a 2-point lead at halftime, and then a 29-4 run, and that third quarter just kind of sealed their fate. But at the time, we didn't know how good Bearden was, and we found out over the next 3 days that they were the real deal.
Well, what happened was that Franklin that first half controlled the pace of the game perfectly to the point that was playing in their favor. Obviously, if you look at all the positions, the 6'9" kid for Bearden was a mismatch. Hard, in that 1-3-1, looking at those diagonal passes, it's really hard to drop down every single time to cover that. But then they had all the other pieces to go with it. They had the Mr. Basketball finalist, Quez Glover on top, super speedy kid. Now, let's not fail to mention, too, third year in a row, this is where it goes back to been there and done it and dipping your toe in the waters in that first year. Sophomore year, that is the group that Coach Glass beat, as that was their first time in the state tournament for Bearden. They're all sophomores. They come back as a junior. They get beat by 5 in the state championship game to Memphis East. They come back this year. They were on a mission. It was one of those deals when they won the first round game, there was no chest bumping, high-fiving, jumping on the floor. It was like next, and we hope Memphis East wins. They wanted Memphis East. That's who they wanted to beat. They proved their point by winning the state championship in convincing fashion by double digits with the #1 recruit in the country on the other side of the floor.
Game was never close. I mean, they used three-quarter court pressure, dominating the half court. Memphis East, the style of basketball they played, didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it was a dominating performance.
I agree. I mean, that's all you can say.
Well,
I was trying to be diplomatic, but
you go back and then to that Franklin game. I mean, that when they came out in the third quarter, when they slapped that press on them. I haven't seen anything like that. Y'all watch more basketball than I do, but I hadn't seen anything like that in a while. They were. I was sold right then. I mean, that was a different game, and this is a team that had won 28 games. You know what I'm saying? And played all the Ravenwood games and all the Brentwood games and all this. I mean, Franklin played a tough schedule. East Nashville twice. That was impressive. And you mentioned, I think his name's Pember. Is that
yes, that's
the 6'9" kid?
Yeah.
He was a lot more athletic than I thought he was.
A whole lot. Runs the floor great.
Yep, ran the floor great. And then the other guard with Glover he's
got a gear that nobody else had, including all the Memphis East kids. I mean, when he wanted to go, it was over. And I was really, obviously we're biased. I really wanted to see the fact that our Glover, Reese Glover, get in on that Mr. Basketball finals. I still think in my mind that he was probably deservingly so, but you kind of want him to prove the point in that game. That kid has a gear. I mean, he's just a different athlete, just a different kid. And he picks up his first offer out of this. Austin Peay's offered him, so I figured the OVC leveled mid-major D1s will start to pick up some steam for that kid because of his point guard skill prowess that he has on defense and the speed on offense. I've seen that before, Tate. I have, with one of my teams when I coached. It was just, unfortunately, I know how Coach Joins feels because played Dyer County in the days of Derek McCord where they won about 30 games for 3 straight years, and we couldn't get it past the free throw line. It's just one of those helpless feelings. You know you could call timeout. You can draw it up all you want, but when you've got those guys hitting on all cylinders, it gets to that clown stage in a hurry.
It was, well, the only, number one, you're there, right? It takes nothing away from the season, and they got beat by the best team in the state. There's no doubt about it. They're better than anybody in D2. They're better than anybody in AA. They're better than anybody single A. They're the best team in the state. And, you know, that's the good and the bad. We've seen it through the years and the draws. I mean, remember the year Blackman and Coach Wirt had the undefeated team and they got Memphis East in the first round. That's the draw with the AAA. They got the best team in the state.
So answer this from your perspective, Coach Whitlock. It means a ton to get there. We all try to get there. I've gone my whole career, coaching career, which was not as long as what you've been doing, with hopes and dreams of let's just get there. Let's get the ping pong ball one time. And if you get there, it's almost probably a feeling like you want to keep winning. But talk about for a second from a perspective of a coach that's still coaching right now, how hard it is to even get there.
Well, I mean, you know, it's brutal. I mean, it's you sit and you stress about the first round of district play and all the pressure that goes with that, and then you get into region, and you know, this year you're playing teams you're really familiar with, and that they know you and they scout you, and then you know a sectional. Obviously, if you get a home sectional game, that's a huge advantage versus going on the road. So kudos to Brentwood for being able to go on the road and win that game. But yeah, I mean, you know, for a program like Franklin who hadn't been there in 30 years. Just getting there and that overwhelming feeling. And then there's also, you know, this never gets pointed out, but there's a week and a half break between games. So you got a whole week to kind of soak that in, and it's really, you know, I would love to have that problem of trying to figure out what to do for a week and a half to get ready. But, you know, teams can reinvent themselves in a week and a half, and, you know, playing the mind game of what you do once you get there and getting over the hump, and your mindset is a big deal. And, you know, Franklin being there for the first time in 30 years, there might have been some other things going on that make it tough to continue on.
Well, Brentwood, the other team that got in, talk about the job, Coach Shirley and the Brentwood Bruins. I mean, you come to this thing, they face some adversity throughout the year. They finish the year 27 wins. Finished 27-9. They draw Murfreesboro, Oakland in the opening round. They win 50-47 in overtime, and then have a great game plan against Memphis East in that second round. Unfortunately, they fall 46-42, literally a couple of buckets away of going to the state championship game against Bearden, which would have been interesting to see because of their length, because of their height, because of their ability to pass the ball. I think would have been just as good a matchup. Now, I don't know that they beat Bearden. I don't know that happens. I mean, we can't play hypotheticals on that, but I think that they handle that pressure a little bit better, and because of their height and their ability to throw over the traps or do the things they need to do.
Well, it would have been a more competitive game than what Memphis East gave them. I think it would have been a closer score. You know, the keys to beating Brentwood this year would be to speed them up on offense and to spread them out defensively, which we couldn't do. That wasn't in our repertoire at all. And I thought Oakland might have a chance to do that with their athleticism, and I knew Memphis East could, but they didn't. So, you know, great year for Coach Shirley and Brentwood, a huge accomplishment. And, you know, a lot of people didn't give them a chance at all against Memphis East, and that thing came down to the final few possessions.
Well, congratulations to Harry Lackey and Cole Massey making the AAA All-Tournament team. To have two teams there, guys, is pretty special from the same district. We've done that twice in 5 years. I think it's pretty neat. We've gotten to the state championship game once. If you think back, all the way back to year one, that would have been 5 years ago. Coach Dennis King takes that team with Teichman and that bunch and Jalen Lawson to play Hamilton in the state championship game.
Led by Todd Day.
Yes, came down to the last shot, had a chance to win it, and then you come back that following year with Coach Glass and Coach Shirley taking, you know, and Coach Shirley making his run with Grayson Murphy and that team, and then you know, this year we've got two. So I think it's always, anytime you get two from the same district, it's pretty special. Or maybe I'm a little biased, obviously.
No, it's big.
But I think it's pretty special to get two in. You know, Memphis had two, we had two, and everybody else did not. So I think it speaks volumes, hopefully, for us.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis seems to always have two because that's just how it works out because of their superior talent. But you go back to Coach King's first team that beat Blackman on that buzzer beater. You know, it had been so long since a Williamson County team had even been there, and that really kind of opened the door for everybody else. The emergence of Williamson County basketball in the last 7 years has been pretty tremendous.
The thing I think is really cool is I'm so happy for all the kids that made it, but you know, Coach Shirley and his team. The thing I think is neat, that's 2 times now Coach Shirley, Greg Shirley, coach Brentwood team's been to the AAA state tournament, and he's done it with different kids. You mentioned the first team. You know, he still had Ty.
That's right. Teichman's still on that team.
Pretty impressive, I think.
Well, you look at this team, Ben Mills, Harry Lackey, Preston Moore, Cole Massey, the younger Wendler kid on this team. That was his main 5. Brought some kids in off the bench, the McPherson kid. Just hard-nosed, good players, blue-collar guys. You know, didn't care who got the credit. Ben Mills is double-double machine. Did a really, really good job on James Wiseman. If you watch that, you know, they did a great job on Wiseman, how they doubled down. They gave him a little trouble. The kid, you know, their heights really disrupted what Memphis East was trying to do, trying to get the ball down low.
What's the gap? He's the Gatorade National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I think that was already determined before the season started, but that's fine. I'm a fan of the guy. It seems to me like he's a really good kid.
I think he's the 1 draft pick 2 years
What's the
ago.
gap between him and Zion?
The gap?
He had to have been the Player of the Year last year, right?
It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close.
That's what I thought.
Not even close. That just goes to show you what Zion is.
Right.
Now, I've got that picture we took of Preston Moore standing beside.
Zion was dropping dimes last night.
Yeah, Preston Moore standing beside James Wiseman at half court gave you a good perspective of what you're looking at. You're looking at the starting point guard from Brentwood. It's hitting about his waist. Even when he bent over with his hands on his knees, he was still taller than Preston Moore. But Preston never backed down. That jumper was in there, man, busting his tail. I love it. Trying to get those signature charges drawn on those guys. You know, diving on the floor, doing his thing. Never back down, ever.
In the Oakland game, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, he took one of them, and you know, there were a lot of plays. Obviously, it went to overtime, but I thought that was one of the biggest plays of the second half when he baited that guy right in. We knew what was happening, and he sold it. And
there you go.
God,
the emergence
and those
of
Oakland crowd was mad.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, the emergence of Ben Mills and Cole Massey was the difference for Brentwood this year.
Yes.
I mean, you knew Harry Lackey. You obviously kind of knew what you had coming into the season, but Ben Mills' ability to score down low, and then Cole Massey, which, to be honest, a lot of people didn't know who he was at the beginning of the season, and when he was hitting, they were dangerous.
Quite possibly the best-looking stroke in all of WCS. 6'4", high, rainbow, stroke city, and he played well during the tournament. They had to have him play well. There's a lot of similarities if you look at Franklin Brentwood. They both have these players, Cole Massey being one, and on Franklin you have sitting in the corner hitting threes.
Jordan Bruce, man.
Jordan Bruce. There's a lot of similarities.
Mr. 10 for 10.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of similarities between those two players. They both had one that sat out there, so that when they got into the gaps, they could kick out to somebody.
That was another thing about Bearden. Like, how many times have you seen that Bruce sitting over in the corner, sitting over?
Couldn't get him.
Yeah, it wasn't happening against
Didn't
Bearden,
have to because you had 6'8", 6'9" on the back line.
Right.
So if you got beat off the dribble, if Reese Glover somehow or Reed Kemp got around you,
Rim protector.
You got a rim protector. No help. You know that was a scouting report. No help off Jordan Bruce. Did not hit a shot. Did not score a point. Don't even know that he got an open look.
Yep.
So
it's impressive.
If you look at that game, you know, obviously it's, you know, Reese Glover is a once in a lifetime player as a coach to have. You know, he's going to have. He finished up the year. I don't know the point total, but it's close to 2,100, maybe more points than that. Total career points, 3-pointers. Had a great game himself. Did all he could do. Ashari Hainsworth, great game.
Well, he had 20, didn't he?
So let's do this real quick before we get into our picks. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the future on the boys' side. Coach Whitlock, you start looking at this. Let's look at Brentwood. I feel like Brentwood could potentially fall off just a little bit, just because of the fact they're graduating a lot of heavy players. But you got Harry Lackey coming back. You've got Winley coming back. I don't know enough about their freshman JV. You have seen all these guys, so let's talk a little bit about what do you feel like what it looks like for the future for these teams?
Well, you would expect Brentwood and Franklin to have a drop-off because they're both losing important pieces. Brentwood will lose 4 out of 5 starters. Franklin loses Glover, Hainsworth, Bruce, still bringing back Thurman and Kemp. So you would expect there to be a drop-off, but, 2 well-coached teams, I think that's probably a little premature to say that. In my mind, the clear favorite next year is Centennial, essentially bringing back their entire team, very talented team, and then obviously Summit, bringing back essentially all their important pieces. So those 2 teams seem to be the top 2. But if you go into the season discounting Brentwood and Franklin, you'd be, that'd be a mistake. And then, there's a lot of other teams I think can make some moves. I think Page will be better. I think we have a chance to be better.
What about Dixon?
Yeah, they're bringing back a lot of pieces too. I mean, they've still got good guard play, and they're losing their big kid down low, but they're bringing back some of their key scorers. So Dixon would probably be penciled in on paper to be 3rd, and then Franklin Brentwood would be right there. But I mean, if we're sitting here a year from now and say Franklin and Brentwood won the district, would anybody be surprised?
No.
Okay.
Independence had a really good freshman team this year. They did really well.
They did.
So they're building back up.
Spring Hill?
Nope.
There you have it.
Hopefully they don't watch, but no.
Bonanza.
They better not.
Well, through all the years, I hate to say it this way, but you look at all 22 sports, the success rate that we've had in all. Basketball was on the lower 3rd tier 5 years ago.
Yeah.
This thing has now moved up to a top-tiered sport, really has, in the time frame in the last 5 years. And that goes for both boys and girls. The only sport that eluded going to the state tournament in all of the sports was girls basketball until Mariska Harris did it. I guess I'd be remiss to not say, thanks to Mariska Harris and the job that she's done, been a co-worker of yours for many years now, done a phenomenal job and has decided to step away from the coaching aspect, and I respect her decision completely, and I know you do too, and we will be very, very saddened at the fact that she will not be on the sideline next year, but we wish her all the best of luck with her family and things that she wants to do.
Yeah, made a family decision. A lot of times when people say that, that's not really what's going on, but that was clearly what's going on here. And she can step away for a few years and then essentially pick where she wants to get back in. If she wants to get back in, I told her she could always have a job on my staff.
There you go.
So.
Guarantee it. She may stomp on your foot with those heels.
You better be
she
careful.
has to sit down, though. She will take it over. No, she's got to sit down if she's an assistant. So.
Yeah, she's done a great job. All right, so let's look at this.
Great job. Great job.
So input from the local panel of experts here and some other coaches as well. We've got our list, our draft list this year for the All-Wilco WCS Sports Conference boys team. I'm going to announce these names. We're going to announce the rules. Mr. Producer is going to come out and flip the coin. Here's who are on the draft board currently. Harry Lackey of Brentwood, Preston Moore, Ben Mills, Cole Massey, all of Brentwood, Trey Carlton, Dusty Williams of Centennial, DJ Estes, Trent Turner, Bill Eads of Fairview, Reese Glover, Ashari Hainsworth, Reed Kemp, Franklin, Matt St. Charles, Preston Garner, Indy, Nate Blade-Orn, Zach Campbell, Nolensville, Mason Allen, Nate Holman, Page, Chase Siebert, Sterling Craig, Ravenwood, Keaton, and Destin Wade, and Kanata Wirtz of Summit. That is your draft board. So we're going to get Mr. Producer out here to flip this coin to see who gets the number 1 pick. The rules are you get 5 players plus 1 reserve.
All right, guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're going to, as we pick, you're going to give us a little blurb on what you think about these guys. Go.
Got the official Wilco coin here. Wilco side is heads, WCS side is tails. Tate, you're calling it. Is that right?
Yep.
Here we go.
Heads.
It is tails. Jeremy has first pick.
Excellent. I've never had
This has happened.
Good luck.
So, first pick off the board. Obviously, I'm going to take the District 11 AAA MVP, Region MVP, et cetera, Reese Glover is officially off the board. Your pick.
Well, I'm going to take the glove. Y'all remember the glove? Whose nickname was the glove in the NBA, Coach Whitlock?
Gary Payton.
That's right.
Payton.
I'm going to take the glove. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes, I do.
The only guy who can check up Glover in the WCS Sports Conference. I'm taking Trey Carlton.
Trey Carlton off the board. I mean, this is like, you could see this one coming, right? So you start looking at you know, you're going to pick the best players. You're going to pick for your spot. So we're looking at this. I'm going to have to say.
It's called I don't know where I'm going.
Stalling.
I'm going to get.
Like when you ask your kid, hey, what'd you make on that science test? Huh?
I'm taking Destin Wade.
Dang it.
I'm getting out of the box.
All right, all right, all right. Whew. I didn't think that's where you were going. I used to now would have gone to a big, but I'm starting to believe this is a guard game.
Positionless basketball.
Positionless basketball. Jeez, watching the tournament. So, I'm gonna. Man, this is tough.
They have turned the show off.
It's only a 30-minute show.
I'm going Ben Mills.
Ben Mills off the board. That's a good pick. It's a double machine. So now I've got to have somebody that's going to offset that. I'm going with the big show, the man that's not scared of the lights himself. I'm going to go Hainsworth at 3.
Perfect.
Maybe
That's
a
what I
little bit
wanted.
of a defensive.
That's what I
hold
wanted.
though, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm going Bladorn. Nolansville.
That's a good
Nolo.
pick.
You like that one?
That's a
Wait.
That's a
He
good
hadn't been
pick.
given commentary. You
I
good with
can't
that?
believe
sorry.
Bladorn lasted that long.
I know.
yeah.
I had him coming up, but I get sidetracked.
No respect for AA around here, guys.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
He's all about dimes and
That's
quarters.
not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, we're going to set a rule that you got to take a AA guy. So with that being in mind, I'm going to take a AA guy right here off the board. Trent Turner is my guy.
Oh, good.
19 a game for the 28-win Fairview.
Good pick.
People are like, who?
Well,
Tell
I'm
him.
glad you did that, buddy, because I was going to take another AA guy.
Yep.
I'm going with DJ Estes.
GJ Estes is off the board. Okay, good.
I mean, we're just going to feed him. This isn't even going to be fair.
Taking Harry Lackey
That's good. That's good.
off the board there.
All right.
What do you think so far?
Oh, man, you have to put them down next to each other and see.
All
the
right, here we
matchups
go.
here.
Here we go, Coach Whitlock. I've got Mills, Carlton, Bladorn, and Estes. Where do you think I need to go next? Guard or big?
I think you got to go with the guard. You got two, you got a 4 and a 5 there.
Are you going to go for a
Because
guard or are you going to
you
go for a
got-
combo guard? Which one are you going for? We've got about 30 seconds, Tate.
I'm going to go with Whitlock's guy. I'm going with Chase Siebert.
He's going Chase Siebert off the board.
You okay with that?
Yeah, of course. A lot of length here.
That's right.
Man,
Gonna
we've
play some
got, we've
zone.
got the
Tate's gonna play some
size,
zone.
we've got the shooters,
I'm
we've
going to
got
call
two
my boy
shooters, we've
over
got
on
two
Hillsborough
sides.
Road and put in the 1-3-1.
I'm going to go with one guy that's going to rebound, that's going to be help defensively. I am taking, and this is also out of the box too, I'm going to take Dusty Williams
That's good.
as a catch-all player that's going to help me win this game because I've got two shooters, two good posts. I've got a swing man. I'm set.
I want some athleticism. I want a guy who can do a little bit inside, a little bit outside, get on the boards. I'm going to go with the other Wade, Keaton Wade.
That's a good pick. That's another pick. All right, well, I can't wait to see us get torched on Twitter for this. But we'll come back next week. We'll start with this. We'll look at these teams. I want to hear your full synopsis on who's going to win this game. All right?
Got it.
Is this next week?
This is next week. Make sure you join us next week. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.